Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
We're back.
Miss us? Probably not.
Probably not. No.
A few people did. This
Hey,
is exciting.
there we go.
We, in classic Tatooine Sons fashion, our return to the podcasting world started this last weekend with an amazing experience. That
It was pretty good.
It's all right.
highlight of the weekend for you.
Ooh.
Rick.
Well, I think
Who's going first?
Yeah, well,
Go, Nate.
yeah.
Man, I ate a great burger at Skywalker Ranch.
That's it.
that was
the
I can't think
You
of
dropped
anything.
the burger thing and
Yeah.
it says at Skywalker Ranch.
At
We'll talk
Skywalker
about
Ranch,
the reason
yeah.
we were there. Sam?
Oh man, I don't know. It's really tough to pick something specific, but I always love being able to go to Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
There's something special about being there.
It's such cool.
But then, of course, getting to go to freaking Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my hat that I got from there right now.
Yeah, and then for me, it was being at Lucasfilm with a series of podcasts that I put on a level to say, someday I hope we're as successful as they are when we were at Lucasfilm the last time. We'll explain it.
Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a Star Wars podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the writer and director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. Get ready to celebrate a galaxy far, far away across the generations. Here are your hosts, David, the Bowtie Jedi Guy, Samuel the Hutt, and BB Nate.
Welcome, Star Wars fans. This is Tatooine Sons, your weekly look into all things Star Wars from the unique perspective of a father sharing his love for the amazing space fantasy saga with his two sons. I am BB Nate, and I'm joined first by my brother, Samuel the Hutt.
Yeah, Achuta, Star Wars fans. And if you're not a Star Wars fan, hello. That's what Achuta means. I figured it's been a minute. Probably might need to
Just
explain what that means.
Don't put the E in front of that.
I literally had to look it
Yeah.
up to make sure I spelled it the right way because I was afraid I was going to curse in
Yeah.
the tease.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't start this new episode with that.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't have Star Wars without bizarre father figures. So on that note, here's my dad, the Bowtie Jedi Guy.
Bowtie Jedi Guy. I
Wild.
remember in 2015, what was it, 2015 when The Force Awakens came out? Force Awakens?
Was it
It was
2015?
December 2015.
I think so.
remember
Like it-
sitting in the theater, getting ready to watch a new Star Wars, the first Star Wars film since the prequels, and being really, really nervous that it wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got about 5 to 10 minutes into that movie, I remember thinking they nailed it. They're nailing it. This feels like Star Wars. And that's sort of the feeling I've got right now. We're back. We're recording again. It was great to hear the original intro.
Yes. By memory, by the way. I did not
What
do it.
a
Good job,
wild thing, though, it is for me to hear that talking down
Yeah, I
here.
can
Welcome,
imagine.
Star Wars fan.
Welcome.
Because when we first started recording this thing in December of 2017, it was way up here.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't even know if I can do that high anymore.
Don't
so
even try.
not going to.
Yeah, don't
it's
do
a
that. to
little
yourself.
sad, but yeah, it's crazy. It's been a minute. It's been
Yeah.
a hot minute since we've even done that intro. And that intro came from our YouTube channel, which is
Lord, we
Wow.
which
Did
is
it come all
lost
the way back
media.
from the
It
YouTube
did.
channel?
It's lost media now. So
as it should be.
I literally cannot find it anywhere. We can't even
I
find it.
delited them all.
It's done.
for the
It's
best.
gone.
It's for the
It's
best.
gone. Only the FBI can find it, probably. So
Well, it's been a few months. It's been, I think, since August of 2024 since we recorded. We'll talk a little bit more at the end of the episode today about what's been happening with us and kind of we'll touch. If you want to hear the whole story, you can find a link in the show notes to an article that I wrote on our Substack that'll lay out the entire story as to where we've been, why we're back, and where we're going. We'll touch a little bit on it, but we don't need to spend a lot of time on the podcast here. But it has been a while. The world has
Just a tiny
changed a lot for
a little
us
bit. Mhm.
since we last recorded an episode. Sam, anything new in your world?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't think of anything.
no, I can't think of anything. No, I mean, I bought a house. I'm on my
What?
own.
When?
Got my own. You didn't know about it? No, I was in let's see, where April,
Yeah, I
early
think you
April,
wanted to
so
get into April.
little over a month now, about a month and a half. It's been going well. I like it a lot. It's a blessing. The house is awesome. I'm super blessed to have.
And we're super
Have what
blessed
it
that
is.
it's like a mile and a half from
Yeah,
us.
it makes
And you
recording
get to come over
because
for dinner and all that whenever you want.
well, it's good because now I don't have to like Zoom call in to record or anything.
Yes.
Because
Except we did have to do something weird with the Andor. You didn't want to come over for Andor because it came out so late. So we
Yeah.
have to like try to start it at the same time from houses
and coordinate.
and
watching
sometimes
at the
I would
same
text
time.
him something and be like, "Whoa, this happened," and you'd be like, "I'm not there yet," or vice
And
versa would
vice
happen
versa.
and be like, "Dude, I'm not there yet." So that was a little strange. That was something new that we've had to encounter. But that's what happens when you release 3-hour-long episodes at 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
and you have work.
yeah,
We were at Lucasfilm. We were hanging with some of the other creators and some people from Lucasfilm, and talking about just some different things that were happening. And it was funny to hear a couple of the other podcasts out there kind of realize that the little kids from Tatooine Sons are no longer little kids.
No.
And one of the people from Lucasfilm was like, "Wait, you bought a house? I haven't even bought a house yet."
Well, buying a house in southern Alabama is a lot different than buying a house in San
is.
Francisco.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's very different.
Yeah.
But
And you've finished, what are we calling it? Your Froshmore year? Is that
that sounds wrong, but I don't know if there's a good way to say it. But yes, I finished my first physical year at college, but like credits wise, it was my sophomore year. So I'm a froshmore, something. I will be a Junemore this next upcoming year, but it went well. Busy, just slightly busy, but
a lot of sound work that
a lot
you've
of
been doing
events.
with some
Yes,
events.
a lot of events. I'm pretty sure I had something every week. It felt like I did have something,
especially
every week.
towards the last couple of
Especially
months.
towards the end. Yes, we had a lot going on, but on top of classes and everything else. But overall, it went well. It was fun. I learned a lot. Experience wise, just being involved in everything. It was a ton of fun, and I should be learning even more soon, hopefully. So,
Absolutely. Getting into the studio more is what the goal is.
which is the goal, and I can't wait for that because it's going to be a ton of fun.
Absolutely. And then I guess my biggest event
You're
that happened,
old.
I turned
You old.
50.
You're old.
Since the last time we recorded with it. So
Wow, you're old.
and speaking of 50, I was like I'm already thinking of the 50th anniversary of Star Wars.
Yeah, I
release
think
and
we are
Star
too,
Wars Celebration
yes.
Los Angeles, and
It's going to be a ton of fun.
getting excited about that.
That
We're
is gonna be
planning.
really cool.
We've already
Hoping to
sort
be
of
there.
planned on being there.
Hoping to be.
in
Mhm.
LA. I was talking with Spencer Javits from
Oh yeah,
Virtual Cantina Network and the Facebook celebration group, that the largest one. They're at
Mhm.
97,000 right now. They're
That's
almost
crazy.
going to clear 100,000.
Where are they
Uh,
going to have enough room to put people?
Well, they're not going to have.
They're not gonna have that
many
much, but
people.
still.
Well, no,
they're-
they don't have that many people there, but they're anticipating about 100 from what he understands at the convention, and
Mhm.
they're anticipating between 125 and 150,000 people at that. Is
Wow.
a celebration.
Dang.
With it.
That's wild.
So as in the Star Wars world, a couple things have happened. Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton
Crew.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Uh,
right.
That was really good.
And
That
we
was really
enjoyed
good.
that. It was sort of a perfect blend of something that's for kids and also for us old guys like me that felt like I was
50.
watching Goonies and
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just
I
felt
really-
like good old Star Wars.
I really did like it. It just
Mhm.
felt it was fun, and I look forward to every week. And
Yeah.
it wasn't heavy,
Unlike-
something else that
unlike
was
the one that
released.
just finished.
Yeah.
And that is Andor. We're going to talk a little bit about Andor, reaction,
Just a
share a
tiny
little
bit.
bit about that.
Nothing special happened with it.
But in the context of our trip to Lucasfilm,
Right.
and how it was to experience that final episode of Andor in the Lucasfilm theater
With a nice sound system,
with an amazing sound system, amazing
Cranked up to
visuals,
12.
150 plus crazy Star Wars fans.
Oh,
Most
had
of
to
them
be
in
more than
cosplay.
that. Yeah.
And then go straight into Rogue One with it. And
try
that
to
was
stay
at the
awake.
end of a day that was already pretty amazing.
Chock full.
We're going to talk
yeah.
a lot about all of that, including our trip to Skywalker Ranch.
This is where the fun begins.
Stevie Nate, you're probably pretty excited before we get into Andor and all this other stuff, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we should probably acknowledge the trailer that released this last week. You're pretty excited
Pretty good.
about that.
I'm
Ironheart,
a little
right?
excited.
Ironheart.
Yes.
Have you guys watched Ironheart yet? The
No.
trailer?
Yeah.
Have you?
Have you? I haven't watched it. Have you, Nate?
I haven't.
Sam, you watched
I
it.
did.
Quickly. Quick reaction.
It looks okay. I don't know. I'm trying not to be grumpy about it. It just doesn't. I know it looks so unrelated to anything Iron Man except in name only, and the fact that she's got a suit.
And then you bring in Mephisto, and you're like, what?
Well, I don't know about Mephisto.
What?
I mean, there was nothing in the trailer.
He's in it.
Sacha Baron Cohen is confirmed as Mephisto.
He's cast.
Sacha Baron Cohen? Baron Cohen? Yeah, Borat.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, that just feels weird. Like I don't know.
Not your
I have thoughts about the character.
Okay.
But
It's sort of the reaction that you have to the trailer is sort of my reaction to the whole series. I'm just not so sure I really care.
Yeah.
And I'll still watch it.
Oh, yeah, we'll watch it.
I'll watch it. But I don't know if it's something I'll watch weekly release.
But there is something that we're definitely going to watch at the earliest opportunity that we can watch it.
Probably, yeah.
Superman, the movie?
Maybe 4 times.
Oh, that's what y'all were getting at.
Not just Superman. Superman, the movie's the 70s.
Oh, was that the Chris Reeve?
Now, that's why he could actually... That's why James Gunn was allowed to change the title from Superman Legacy to Superman, is because the official title of the Christopher Reeve movie is Superman the movie. So he is now allowed to title this one Superman. And that new trailer looked amazing. I mean, it looks super.
So explain to me, because you're the DC comic book super nerd.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't try. You are.
In this household, yeah.
Well, I don't know very many people that are as much of a nerd about DC Comics than Nate. What is it about this James Gunn version of Superman? We've gotten the teaser now. We've gotten the trailer. We've gotten a behind-the-scenes look that showed some stuff about the Fortress of Solitude.
Mm-hmm.
That feature.
We got the thing that played in front of Minecraft, which was good. The crypto scene.
Well, okay, I thought that's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. What is it about James Gunn's Superman that gives you such hope as a DC comic books fan?
Well, for starters, there's not a gray filter over everything.
Yeah, everyth's not just black. It makes you wonder if your TV is broken, which has been a struggle with some other Superman movies recently. But I think, honestly, I feel like we can accurately portray this Superman and what James Gunn is trying to do with him just from this trailer and the interview between Lois Lane and Clark, or Superman at this point. She's really asking him the questions that was, let's just be honest, was an issue that a lot of people had with Zack Snyder's Superman. The consequences, what is he doing? He's a representative of America more than anything, because he kind of was at some points in Batman v Superman, which didn't feel right. It didn't sit right with me personally. I'm one of those few people, but I'm one of those people that do like the change of the motto. Don't
truth, justice, and
a better tomorrow.
A better tomorrow versus America.
Don't at me. I know
you're not on me. You're not on X.
I know that's a hot take, but I've never thought of Superman as
an American.
I mean, he came from Krypton, and he's here to protect Earth, not just America and America's ideals. He's here to protect truth and justice and looking for a better tomorrow, the hope of Superman. And we see it in this trailer. Lois Lane is like, well, what about the consequences? What about the people? And he's like, people were going to die. Like, did not matter what the government thought, did not matter what the press thought. The only thing going through his mind was, I've got to help these people. I don't care what happens after that. Yeah. And that's Superman, always wanting to do the right thing and always being hopeful. And then we see it in this, other people helping Superman up, because the city of Metropolis is also a huge deal with Superman. The civilians he saves, saving him as well, is a big deal, and something that we've seen in comics a lot before, even with the death of Superman and the civilians in that, and how they treated Superman during the Doomsday Battle. And it's not something that we've had for quite a long time. I mean, Christopher Reeve and maybe even Brandon Routh to an extent, we got that. But I mean, Henry Cavill, he's a great actor. I think he got a bad shake when it came to Superman. I'll live by the ideology that Man of Steel is a great superhero movie. I don't think it's a good Superman movie. I mean, I really enjoy the movie. I think it's very well made. But this one, I'm seeing everything that I want to see about Superman, and it's just hope.
And he's got a dog.
And he has a dog. We got Crypto.
Sam, when I watched the full trailer that just released last week, when I watched it, I couldn't help but get MCU Civil War vibes. Like there's this group that works officially for the government. What is it? The Justice Society?
It's
Justice
JLI. It's the
Okay.
Justice Gang is what some people are calling it.
Okay, but it feels like they're in an official capacity.
Right.
And then you have Superman who's not wanting
fringes.
to be, tied to some official organization that just wants to have the freedom
Yeah, it's like
to
Captain
do
America.
the right thing, which reminds me a lot of Cap in the Civil
Mhm.
War with the
Mhm.
Sokovia Accords and things like that. Do you feel like there could be too much of a similarity or a parallel to what's going on with that?
No, I don't think Superman's going to ever really butt heads with the Justice Gang. That's what I'm going to call them.
No.
I don't think they're ever going to like butt heads or anything. But I think there's going to be that I think they're going to want him to join up throughout the whole movie because he could be, a huge asset to the team. But like you mentioned, he's not going to want to be tied down by bureaucracy and having to, take orders. Because it's very clear from this trailer, he wants to help people when and wherever he can, wherever he's needed, not where he's told to go. So I doubt we'll see any conflict from that, but it will be an interesting world setup because we know that Superman's eventually going to have to join the Justice League. I mean, it's just part of DC. So there's going to be that kind of tug of war, I'm sure, push-pull throughout the movie that, maybe at the end we'll see him join up or maybe not. But I think that we'll get some development in there as to his mindset of working on a team with a team. So, yeah.
Nate, in the trailers, I don't think it's necessarily specifically shown in the Superman trailer, but there is allusions to it that are shown clearly in the new Peacemaker trailer that Trask is involved, actually played by Sean Gunn.
Yes. So that's Maxwell Lord.
Oh, is that not? Yeah, it's not.
We've gotten his
Trask.
character before.
So Trask is the company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, is that right?
It's a part of the company, yes. But
Okay.
Maxwell Lord is the leader
So
of
that was who
this.
Pedro Pascal's character was in Wonder Woman 85.
Yes.
Oh.
And now Sean Gunn's playing this version of him, which I've heard amazing things.
Well,
He's
I'm
to
curious
crush
though,
him.
because it is there any precedent within the comic books for Trask and Maxwell Lord and all of that to have this like organizing this group of superheroes? I'm trying to figure
Sometimes
it out.
Argus, which I think is the group you're thinking of probably, does put together a group of superheroes. It can be JLI, the Justice League International. That's probably where they're going with it. Maxwell Lord is sometimes involved with that. Maxwell Lord is also sometimes a bad guy and sometimes a good guy.
Yeah.
It depends on the version of the character you're looking at. I don't know where they're going to go with it in this one. Probably more of just an anti-hero more than anything with Maxwell Lord. But I think we're going to be seeing a lot of... I don't believe we're going to see Superman join the JLI. I think that we need both Batman and Superman to help form the Justice League because it's Superman that convinces Batman of the team and it's Batman that forms it. So I feel like that would hit a lot more. But the thing is, I don't know what the Batman of this universe is going to be like.
They haven't finished even writing that story yet.
Some people are like, it's going to be Matt Reeves' Batman because in the most recent trailer, you can see a news
Oh, I saw that.
thing
It's something I'm
of
talking about flooding.
major floods devastate city. And everybody's like, oh, well, that's what happens at the end of the Batman. And I'm like, people just, it's just regular floods. Like, it's not going to be, it's not Gotham. And if it is, that's
They
crazy.
flat out gone on record and said it's
They
not
have.
Reeves'
They
Batman.
have. So I don't believe that it's going to be that. But I don't know what the Batman's going to look like. Because the next, I think the
They
next
finished
DCU
filming Supergirl.
They did. I think that's the next DCU movie coming out next year, which is an interesting next step in the series. Very much looking forward to it, though. I think overall, we're going to be seeing a lot of established universe instead of just kind of starting the universe, which is good.
We get that feeling from the opening to this trailer because it opens with Lois knowing, I'm 100% confirmed now, knowing that Superman and Clark are one and the same.
Right.
Right.
And that's an established universe type thing. We're not going to go through the process of her not picking up on who Superman is and working with Clark and that weirdness that it's kind of a gimmick.
It is.
It's overdone.
in a super. Yeah, it seems like we're going to be starting the story with them fully aware. So we're in the middle of that conversation.
Mhm.
Really, I'm also curious. I heard that I think it was James Gunn came out this week after the trailer and said that conversation between Lois and Superman is actually like 11 or 12 minutes long.
Dang.
Perfect.
In the movie. Do you think that that's too long of a conversation or exposition? For this type of
It'll be
story?
Not at all.
It's probably going to be him or interspersed with clips of him fighting the monster, the kaiju monster, and it'll be like them recapping that fight while also debating and discussing it. So I think it's going to be a dual purpose conversation. So I think that's what's going to happen.
I don't know. Even if it's just a conversation, I don't believe that that's a problem. I think audiences are more accustomed to a long runtime. And I truly believe that we're okay seeing a conversation between Lois and Superman because, let's just be honest, what's one of the most memorable scenes from the original Superman movie?
It was this conversation.
It's the interview with Superman. And so them taking that into account and putting it in this, but making it more of a hard-hitting thing than Lois is just in awe of Superman, and making it more of a conversation of, who are you, Superman? Giving us the Pulitzer Prize winning piece that Lois wins with, instead of it just being like, it felt weird that Lois would have won with that interview with Superman, which I know that like later on it's established that she did in the Superman Returns movie. It feels weird. Like, it just doesn't feel like the right vibe for a Pulitzer Prize winning piece. And so making it a hard hitting, down to earth, truth searching interview allows Superman to go onto this path of finding out who he really is. He's a hero now, but what does that mean? And I think that's what we're going to be finding that a lot in this movie, and I think it's going to be great. I can't wait.
I'll ask Nathan in a second. I think I already know the answer. I'm almost 100% sure I know the answer. But Nate or Sam, there's two super blockbuster superhero movies coming out within weeks of each other in July. Obviously, Superman on July 11th, and then on the 25th, I think, of July is Fantastic Four: First Steps. Which one are you most excited about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, equal. It's just they're different. I'm excited for both in different ways. I can't really pick one. They're so different. I mean, you don't have to pick between Marvel and DC anymore. I feel like it's, you don't have to have that mindset. I'm equally excited for both. I think Superman's going to set up a good universe. It's going to give us an interesting ride. I think Fantastic Four is going to be a different entry to the MCU. So I think they're both going to be good.
Nate?
Superman.
What?
No doubt. I can't wait to see where we go with a more comic accurate universe for DC now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that. I want to see the colorful comic books on the screen, which is something that we've even struggled to get a little bit in the MCU. It always feels like the MCU is just a grounded version of superheroes that follow loosely what the comics do. I want to see comic books on screen, and you can have the dark. There's no doubt that DC has the dark, but you can also have the hopeful, campy light, and I want that too, because it's something that superhero movies are scared to lean into, but James Gunn never has been. We've seen it with the Guardians the movies. They feel just like the comics, and they do a very good job with keeping that campy side, the cheesy, corny, crazy jokes, and leading into very, very serious emotional moments. I mean, we have Guardians 3, for an example, being one of the most emotional movies we've gotten in the MCU, while also having some really fun, weird moments of jumping around and floating around in brightly colored space suits and fun jokes. So,
well, let me ask it this way then. I'll start with you, Nate, and then you, Sam. Which franchise has more riding on the success of their movie? DC, the DCU with the launch of this in the as a film franchise with Superman, or Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Fantastic Four, a series of characters that have not been portrayed well in film ever, at a time when Marvel seems to be missing as much as hitting with certain things. Which franchise has more riding on their success?
Superman or DC?
Yeah, I feel like DC.
Really?
I feel like if this doesn't knock it out of the park, people are not going to give it a fair shake. And it's a different climate than what it was with Iron Man. If Iron Man didn't do well, you can shrug it off and make the next one. And if it did amazing, you would be fine.
Right, because there's nothing established.
But with DC, if Superman doesn't go well, people are not going to give you another chance with Supergirl, especially. People just don't want to. And it's a hard climate to break through with superhero universes right now. And I feel like Marvel, Fantastic Four is even mediocre. People are still going to be excited about it and then want to go see Doomsday.
Yeah, people are always going to see Marvel movies. It's just going to happen.
That's just the case. But with DC, they have a lot of pressure. I do not envy James Gunn right now.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about one of those recent DC or Marvel Cinematic Universe movies here in just a few minutes. But before that, we are resurrecting, along with this podcast, we are bringing back one of my favorite segments from the past, Bad News.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right, here's bad news. All right, this is the time when we look at what seems like it's saying one thing from a article title, and when you get into the article or you explore the information in it, you realize it's not really saying what it thinks it's saying. It's very clickbaity, which is how we define bad news with it. And it was not challenging.
Never is.
To find options for this. It never is. I went to all of the usual suspects and looked at multiple different articles.
Their crooked ways.
All of them are there. And of course, the one that won out this week was Inside the Magic.
Our old friend.
They've been a regular appearance in this segment over
We should
the years.
go through and get a counter for who has the most appearances.
Well, it's very subjective because they all have opportunities. I just picked the one that has the most fun.
True.
This one is about an R-rated Darth Vader. The actual article title was Star Wars History Changed Forever.
Whoa.
As R-rated racist Darth Vader character goes viral. All right, Samuel the Hutt, if you were just scrolling through Facebook.
If you were mom.
and didn't know necessarily about the history of certain things like this, and you read that title, what would that make you think?
I think, wow, Disney's really going off the rails with Star Wars or whatever, that typical kind of mindset. Because the headline sounds pretty misleading. It's very misleading of a headline when you know what it actually is talking about.
What do you think that the headline would seem to suggest, Nate?
Oh, yeah, like Sam, Disney went off the rails,
what do you think that they're saying happened? If you were to take it, what would be the conclusion that you were saying about how Disney went off the rails? Is it a show? Is it a property? Is it something official that they've done?
It would probably be like a show or something of what? Because if you're not tied into Star Wars and you see this, if you're not tied into Star Wars, then you're going to see this and be like, oh my gosh, I must have missed a show or something. What did Disney do? But if you're tied into Star Wars, pretty much anybody, you'd be like, Darth Vader hasn't been in a show since Kenobi. What are they talking about? Why talk about this now? And he was fine in Kenobi. Right. So, I mean, yeah, it would be frustrating for people that don't know what's going on.
So I dug into the article, started reading it, and knew I was going to find that the article headline did not match up what was in it. It's actually a history of Darth Vader and a history of James Earl Jones, where there's one paragraph that mentions something weird that happened with a new AI version, voiced version in.
So right now, I've actually encountered it. So right now, Fortnite, the popular video game, is doing a whole season where it's all Star Wars themed. So there's ships, you can fly X-Wings, TIE fighters. All the guns are Star Wars blasters, lightsabers.
I heard there's Jar Jar Binks in it.
Or
the Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah, it's a cosmetic skin you can get. But it's really fun. I've been playing it on and off here. And they just recently added a new function where, if you defeat, there's an AI, well, I say AI, there's a non-player controlled Darth Vader roaming around the map. And if you defeat him, you can recruit him as a partner, and he like joins your squad and fights with you. But they added a feature to where you can communicate with him. So you'll hold down a button and you talk to Darth Vader like he's a part of your squad. And then using an AI like text platform, along with the James Earl Jones Darth Vader voice modulator, the AI will respond to your prompts, just like you would do with whenever you're talking like ChatGPT or something.
So it's using basically, that.
It's essentially, it's using your voice to talk to a version of ChatGPT or something like that, and then running it through a Darth Vader AI voice filter, and it'll talk with you. It's really cool, actually. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty impressive. I actually got to experience it in a game where I like had him. I was part of my squad, and it was a lot of fun. What the headline's talking about is just like with any, it's like this is why we can't have nice things. People always come around and ruin stuff, right? Especially when it comes to AI. The first thing anyone ever tries to do with AI when it's released to the public is they try to break it somehow, right? Get it to say something ridiculous. And so, of course, people found a way to jailbreak the Darth Vader into saying stupid things like cuss words and racial slurs and all that stuff, right? It's dumb. Of course, people have gotten him to say silly things too, which is really funny.
But that's fine.
I don't care about that.
I want to hear Darth Vader say silly things too.
Right, but people have found a way to get him to say not appropriate things. Yeah. And that's what this is talking about.
So this has nothing to do with Disney creating an R-rated version.
No, this is people
Vader
ruining nice things. And Fortnite has, within a day, gone through and released an update that fixed the issue so it can't happen anymore. So this is already old news that was never news to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Nate, I would think that the bigger controversy, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but one of the bigger controversies in this is an AI-generated version of Darth Vader that's in an official property. So how is Fortnite, and I guess this is, licensed by Disney and Lucasfilm for this, how are they getting away with creating an AI version of Darth Vader?
Well, the estate of James Earl Jones has signed off on this and his family has been a part of the development whole process the entire time. The issue that has been coming to light today, though, as of recording, is SAG-AFTRA has sued Epic Games and has sent a cease and desist because it was not made public information that they would be doing anything AI, especially with James Earl Jones, going against the SAG-AFTRA rules that was just established during the strike
agreement.
So that's causing issues. Like Sam said, we can't have anything fun, but in this case, it feels a little bit different.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. No offense. I mean, okay. Using AI in film, I'm not really a fan of. But in this case, and especially in cases where the actor is no longer with us and the actor's family, estate, or whatever have signed off on it, it's a little different in my mind.
I get that.
Because, I mean, yeah, there are impersonators who've done a great James Earl Jones, but it's not the same. Also, this isn't for a movie. This is done as a fun, silly little gimmick in a video game for people to mess around with for a limited time thing. This isn't going to stay around permanently. This is probably going to go away in 2 or 3 weeks. They may end up doing similar things going down the line with other characters. It's more of
just like what precedent are they setting?
That's fair
in this field, and what are they thinking of doing and everything. But I don't know if I have a problem with it particularly. I haven't encountered it, but if people are having fun with it, I think it's all right. It's not.
To me, I think the most important thing is, did the family sign off on it?
Right.
And did James Earl Jones sign off on it?
I think that he did sign off on a likeness being used after he passed away. So everything should be above board. I think SAG is just trying to stop anything before it starts, which I completely understand.
Especially when it comes to AI.
Because people have already had this issue happen. Some actors were taken in, said, say these 10 lines, and they did, and then they started using them for voice stuff.
Which is a very different scenario than what we're dealing with.
Very different. Very different. So there's a lot that's just going on. I completely understand the nervousness that SAG has, but I think it's not a humongous
AI is a
deal.
new thing that we're just going to have to learn how to navigate going forward.
Yeah,
And everything.
absolutely.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Let's get back to the MCU a little bit. We were talking about this
Just
a few
tiny
minutes
bit.
ago.
Mhm.
We were talking about Superman, and
Yeah.
that led us talking about the DCU and the MCU and everything else. Well, there's been an MCU movie that came out within the last few weeks.
There's been 2 since we've recorded.
Well, there's been but it's in the last few weeks specifically, which is Thunderbolts.
Mhm.
New Avengers, come on.
Samuel,
Yes,
the Hut.
that's me.
Is Thunderbolts the movie the MCU needed to get back on stride from your perspective?
Marvel has gone through this past phase where I've seen so many memes about it. It's like it's all over, we're so back. It's all over, we're so back. You know, it's an alternating thing, which pattern still has held up, which makes me a little nervous about Fantastic Four if it's going to follow the pattern. I'm not saying it's going
between
to.
Daredevil and
I'm
Thunderbolts,
talking
we
movies.
broke the curse.
I'm talking about movies.
And
Okay,
Brave New World was not that bad.
it wasn't great though. I'm not saying it was
wasn't
all
good either.
yeah, I'm not saying it was like a bad movie. It just was okay. I'm not saying F4 is going to be bad. If it holds up, the pattern would say that it's going to be bad. Anyway, so sure, is this one the one where it's we're so back? I guess it was a great movie. I loved it.
What did you love so much about it?
Well, I think I'm getting to that. I think the thing that's most important about what this movie did is the problem we've had in Marvel so far is there hasn't been a cohesive group, a single group of characters that we can look at as, here's kind of the central point of Marvel going forward for a bit. With the first few phases, it was, Marvel, Cap, Iron Man, Iron Man, Cap, Thor.
Yeah.
The big Avengers characters, right? You followed them throughout the whole Infinity Saga, and they threw in some side characters here and there. They were great. They were fun, but you always kind of had that focal
Your
point.
core group.
Right. The last few phases haven't had that. It's just been jumping around here and there, and nothing happened. Then this
Jumping
movie comes
back in time to the
right
with Black Widow.
Right. With this movie, it finally kind of established, hey, here's a group of characters from multiple different projects coming together as a team. And most importantly, fans like the characters. All the characters. Nobody
Minus one, but they killed them.
Well, and they
really quickly.
but they did it in a funny way. Like they were totally self-aware about it too. I mean, no spoiler. I mean, spoilers.
Yeah, at this
if you haven't seen it at this point. But I mean, they killed Taskmaster so unceremoniously. They looted the body afterwards. I mean, they were just basically like wiping their hands clean, being like, "All right, we made a mistake with that one. Let's just move on," kind of thing. So now with the Thunderbolts, New Avengers, whatever, all the characters are fan adored. It's a group that we can kind of focus on going forward. And going to the post-credit scene, it already seems like they're going to be using this group as that hinge, as that focal point for the rest of the larger story, because we know the next movie coming up, the next big one is Doomsday. Obviously, it's going to have to tie into Fantastic Four. So it's smart that they're using Thunderbolts to bring in the Fantastic Four into that main focal point, into that central idea, so we can move forward into the main story. I think that was what's most critical about this movie, is it set up the new group that we can
We'll come back
look
to that. Nate, before the opening weekend was done, I think
so.
They were officially changing the name of this movie on billboards and going public on all their social media channels with the big reveal that the asterisk at the end of Thunderbolts was because they weren't the Thunderbolts anymore. They were the New Avengers, and that got out there. Did they reveal that too soon, in your opinion?
Maybe just a little too soon, but also I don't think it affected much for the overall plot. It's you go in with New Avengers, you're wondering what happens, you eventually find it out. They are trying to get everything set and in people's minds for Avengers Doomsday. Just they need to get things established. And so switching it as soon as you can, thinking, oh, the Thunderbolts are the new Avengers. We have the Avengers now. For the casual fans that are looking at that, like, oh, we got the Avengers now. And then you have Fantastic Four coming up. You're like, oh, I've heard of them. I watched a really weird
bad movie in 2016 or whatever.
2015, yeah, or the really weird campy ones in 2005 and stuff. Like, I used to watch that. I guess they're making a new one. Oh, they'll be a part of Avengers. Like, getting all of that established in people's minds as soon as they can, I think, is what the MCU, what Marvel was trying to do. And maybe too soon, but also,
I think they were probably trying to get ahead of spoilers, honestly.
Exactly. You're going to get spoiled on it either way. I know people that saw it the day it came out, not preview day, the day the official release, that were already spoiled on it. So it's just the day and age we live in. You're just, if you don't see it opening night, you're probably going to get spoiled. Heck, if you even see it opening night, like preview night, you're probably going to find some way to get spoiled from a world premiere or something.
Pretty much.
So it happens. I don't believe it was a bad decision, just an unfortunate one.
Sam, do you think that actually it played into a larger marketing strategy to try to generate excitement about this after opening weekend with the casuals that may or may not have been excited about this movie, but now calling it New Avengers after opening weekend makes them say, well, I got to go see what this is all about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, before it was the Thunderbolts, which if you're not familiar with Marvel, you got no clue what that means, right? But you put the title New Avengers on there, like, oh, I remember the Avengers. Those were cool. I guess I'll go see what
everybody knows about the Avengers movies.
Right. So yeah, it could be that, hey, let's bring in the casuals into this. But I think it was still too soon because it was like a day or two after the movie came out. I mean, it was way too soon. But it is a kind of a fun little gimmick. It was better than the whole Agatha all along trick they tried to pull. That didn't work. That was dumb. It was just annoying because they did it so many times. You're like, all right, whatever. We don't care anymore. But with this, at least it was like throughout the whole lead up, what's the asterisk? Now we find it out, right? I think it was good.
And it was cool to see Sebastian Stan going to bus stops and changing out posters.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was fun, yeah.
With it. Nate, from your perspective, how does this film set up Fantastic Four and Doomsday?
Obviously, the post-credit scene. Setting up, I think the post-credit scene was pretty much all of the setup that we had. I mean, this movie was establishing the characters, establishing the group, but that post-credit scene did all the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
You had the tease of Bucky and Sam butting heads over the Avengers and new
How
Avengers.
do you feel about that? Because we kind of got past that, and now it's back again?
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than we expect. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But also, it's 14 months later from Thunderbolts that we see that. So 14 or 16 months. So a lot can happen.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what ends up happening. I think that with Fantastic Four, obviously we see the Fantastic Four coming to Earth. When that will take place in the movie, I really don't know.
In the Fantastic Four movie?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be at the end or maybe even in the middle or 3/4 of the way through and then have some of it set in the MCU world. I don't know.
Wasn't that scene, the post-credit scene, directed by the Russo brothers?
It was directed on the set of Doomsday. So we'll have to see. I'm not sure.
Could it be a scene from Doomsday like they did with the original Captain America post-credit scene that was actually a scene from the first Avengers movie?
It could be,
Tesseract,
but then that makes it feel a little weird. Like, what is the point of Fantastic Four if we all know where this is going to lead? So, like,
well, we don't though. We don't know the setup.
I guess
we don't
Doom
understand
and
where they're
stuff.
coming from. What sends them on the trajectory that we see in this? And this, there's some that believe this was just a scene from Doomsday that we.
I could see that. Yeah.
Oh, tangent. Did y'all see the person that snuck onto the Doomsday set yesterday?
No.
Dude recorded his entire time. He just hopped over a fence, walked around like he owned the place, took video of
Did he have an
sets.
orange vest on?
No, he had a full black getup. Dude looked suspicious. Nobody stopped him. He grabbed coffee from the cast table. He has video recording of coffee from the cast table and walked out security, and he literally put in his video, "Disney, do better with your security."
Yeah.
Was there anything revealed?
I mean, we saw Madripoor a Madripoor market,
Okay,
which I think has to do
goes all the way back to
is that X-Men?
No, Madripoor had to do with
No.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's where Sharon.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Carter
people are
is.
wondering, and they may have
She-
seen Simu Liu, so it might be Shang-Chi's stuff, but nothing was revealed. He at least was respectful enough to do that, but I think he was just trying to
That
prove
is
a
funny.
point.
Just
Like,
kind of like
dude, y'all got to do some better work.
if
on
I
this.
can get in,
Everybody can, pretty
Right.
much. I thought that was funny. I had to mention that. That came out yesterday.
That
That,
is
was funny.
All right. Well, speaking of going to places that you didn't think you could get into,
we didn't have to hop a fence.
We didn't
though.
have to hop a fence for this, but we did have to go through security, and we did not get stopped like Sheldon in Big Bang Theory.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
I guess you can catch lightning in a bottle twice.
Apparently so.
I think we've caught it like 17 times.
Yeah, every time
Yeah.
we think that it can't happen again or something weird like this can't happen, which started all the way back with Turbis the Porg 60 days after we started the podcast, something happens. So here's it's been bizarre, right? And if you read the article that's in the show notes where you hear the story of kind of where we've been, why we're coming back and what we're hoping to do in the future, you'll get more of the details with this. But we've been making the plan to relaunch the podcast, get things back up and running. And there was sort of this moment a couple of weeks ago where I was sitting out on the back patio as I do every morning, drink my coffee, just kind of pray and things. I was praying about the podcast and like, all right, is this the right thing for us to do? I really feel like it is, but God, if it is, confirm this.
Mhm.
And later that afternoon, we got an email from Lucasfilm Publicity. Now, think about that. We haven't put out a podcast
since August.
And the last time we talked about Star Wars on the podcast,
We were pretty critical.
we were critical of the Acolyte, not toxic,
No,
but critical
We're
of
professionally
the way
critical.
the story was presented, not the story itself,
No,
but
I
the
agree with
way
that.
it was
Mhm.
presented with it. And then we just stopped doing the podcast, and some of that had to do with just life.
Yeah, a lot of
with
it was mainly due
Yeah.
to life. Yeah.
But it's like, let's get this up and running. And then suddenly we get this email, and the email is, in a couple of weeks, they're going to be hosting a screening of the final episode of Andor season 2, going straight into Rogue One at the Lucasfilm Theater, and we're invited to go. Me plus one is what the email said. And so I'm like, that's crazy. I look at the dates. My first thought when I looked at the dates were it's like 5 days away, but that was actually when they were asking us to confirm whether or not we could be there. When I thought it was that, I was like, there's no way. Nathan has, running
Right.
sound and helping out with graduation at university. We can't get it together that fun, but that's really cool. And then I looked and saw that it was 2 weeks out, and I'm like, we could actually make this happen. The window of time
Is perfect.
Mhm.
So I emailed them back and I said, can I get one more seat? And, explained what's going on. They agreed to it. And it was the event is the day that we were scheduled to record this episode.
Right.
And I was sitting there, and again, this episode was going to be all about Andor, and we're still going to talk about Andor
Yeah.
with it. But the whole idea was like, okay, maybe that's some confirmation that it's time to
Right.
restart the podcast with it. Guys, what was your reaction just to the idea of being invited to go back to Lucasfilm?
Oh, excited. I was really excited. I was like, this will be really cool. If we can go back, that would be awesome, because it's a once in a lifetime thing to be able to go to Lucasfilm once, and we've had that ability, but now being able to go a second time would be amazing. So yeah, it was super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I never thought we'd get an opportunity to go back there. We did it. How many years ago was that? 6, 7 years ago?
November of 2018.
Yes, 7 years ago, nearly. We were like, well, we got one shot. Let's, and we did it. It was great. And then, we never thought it would happen again, and sure enough, here we are. So, I was pretty blown away to hear that we'd be given another opportunity to do something that crazy.
And it's amazing, how often these types of things happen in the Star Wars universe and then have happened with us too. But it is like poetry, because when we went the very first time in November of 2018, we were delayed about an hour and a half to actually starting our tour when we were invited to go there by Matt Martin, because something had come up at Lucasfilm that they had to deal with. And so we were delayed. We finally got in there. We did our tour with it. We had some really crazy moments. Hey, Leland. And we left. And as we were leaving San Francisco, we hadn't even gotten out of town yet. I get a notification on Twitter that Lucasfilm has just announced in that moment a Cassian Andor prequel series. So we were there the day they announced the Andor series, and then invited to come back to celebrate the ending of the Andor series. What amazing bookends.
Yeah, so cool. Everybody likes a good bookend.
Yeah, the studio reference there. With that. Could it get any better than being able to just get on a plane, fly out to San Francisco, take pictures at the Yoda fountain again, see some stuff inside the lobby, go to the Lucasfilm studio or Lucasfilm theater and watch these amazing productions? Right. I mean, that would have been peak. Am I right?
Yeah, I would have been, at the top.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Act now.
So everybody that's listened to the podcast knows Nathan wants to work in film sound.
Yes.
And so I sent an email to one of our contacts there at Lucasfilm saying, listen, we're going to be in town Thursday night. We'll be there all day Friday before the event. If there's anybody at Lucasfilm that's involved in sound that Nathan can just grab 30 minutes with to pick their brain, it would be awesome. We would love that. No expectation whatsoever, but
be really cool.
But we'll ask so that you guys can tell us no if it won't work out, right? And I didn't hear back. That was like a week after that we didn't hear back. And then last Wednesday night, you were at band practice, getting ready for band practice at church. I was at choir practice. You were with your girlfriend? Is that dinner? Nate, and I get a phone call. And it says Lucasfilm on my phone. And so I'm like, I'm going to leave choir practice for a second and answer this phone call. And it's our contact there that says that they may have an opportunity. It's going to get complicated if we don't have a rental car. But they have an opportunity that Nathan may be able to get a meeting with somebody. And I'm like, we have a rental car. Right. We're good to go. And they're like, well, we coordinated a meeting with a gentleman named Max Smith. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then she's like, at Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah.
I'm
Skywalker
like, yes,
sound.
Thank you, please. Yes, absolutely. We'll be there.
We will be there. Tell us when and where.
Tell us when. We're going to be there. Absolutely. And we got that all worked out. And then immediately get off that call and call both of you and like conference you guys in to tell you what was the reaction, Nate, for you to find out that you were going to be talking to, which we'll talk about Mac in a second, but an amazing sound designer at Skywalker Sound at Skywalker Ranch while we were out there. What was that like for you?
It was just shock because, it's not something that you ever expect. As a Star Wars fan, you never expect to really be able to go to Skywalker Ranch. It's a difficult thing to get into.
Because it's different than Lucasfilm. I mean, this is a private. I mean, this is
a retreat. This is a creative retreat, and this is work. Like, this is a professional setting. It's not something that anybody
so is Lucasfilm, but it's different.
Lucasfilm, you can get into the lobby no matter what.
Right.
You can get into the lobby.
Yeah.
Well, let's just see some stuff in the lobby. You could take your picture at the Yoda fountain and thank you very much. Now it's time to leave.
Right.
And they're fine with that. You don't get anything like that at Skywalker
No,
Ranch.
you can see the security booth.
You don't even have a sign.
No,
that was the thing that surprised me. There's no signage. I mean, you got to know where you're going.
Yeah, you can't. There's nowhere to go and take a selfie next to a Skywalker Ranch sign.
No. So it was just wild. It's not something you ever expect. It was just shock, and I couldn't wait. I was just like, oh my gosh, now I have 2 days to prepare my mind for all of this. It was just absolutely insane, but very excited. That was for sure.
Sam, you and I joked about this a little bit, but what was the first thing that popped into your mind when we said we were going to Skywalker Ranch as you sit here wearing a Skywalker Ranch hat?
Yeah, which is just weird. No, I mean, the first thing that popped in my head was that one Big Bang Theory episode where they were in San Francisco for one reason or another, and they're like, let's do it. Let's go, see if we can check out Skywalker Ranch, right? And, they get to the security booth and they're like, do you have an appointment? We're like, no, we don't. And they're like, you're going to have to turn around. Thank you for coming. They're like, okay. And then they try to book it in there anyway. And of course, they're like, they're detained and everything and all that. It's funny. But I mean, that
the
was
same
like
security booth. It looks like it's like patterned after it.
Similar.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just funny that, it is. If you're a diehard Star Wars fan and you know about it, I mean, you want to, oh man, it'd be so cool to go there one day, and then we got that opportunity, which, like we said, we never thought we'd get to go to Lucasfilm again, but that had happened once before, right? So like, there's a chance it could happen again, but I mean, Skywalker Ranch is like
never was
exclusive.
on our like even a wish list.
No. Like I remember we were at Celebration, the first
Orlando,
one.
yeah.
And they had a Skywalker Ranch like display area with like a bunch of relics and stuff. I'm like, I don't even want to look at it. I'm like, not gonna be able to check it out. I don't even want to go look at it. And now, sure enough, we got to go to the ranch.
So we got to go. We got to have lunch. Nate, go ahead and talk about it.
That burger was crazy.
Well, what was special about the burger was they had Wagyu cattle on the ranch
that belonged to George Lucas,
right? And that was where the meat for the burgers came from.
It was so good. I don't know.
It's like all he's talked about since the trip. We didn't actually get to go to the main
house.
We didn't. No, but I don't know.
But we did get to go to Skywalker Sound, and that was because we met with Max Smith. Now, if you may not, this is the unfortunate thing about
being a sound guy.
About sound guys, they don't get a lot of credit and notice. But I mean, Nate, and he didn't talk about this, so I'm just going to go ahead because I'm going to send this podcast episode to you, Mac, and I know you're listening to it, and you didn't
maybe
tell us this at all, but it's on your Lucasfilm Skywalker sound page.
Like we can see
we saw it before we got there, and we're like, holy crap! Look at it. He's currently working on this little project that we've already talked about today called The Fantastic Four First Steps. That's the project.
For anyone unfamiliar, remind them what his role is.
Yeah, he's the sound designer. So the way he described
he's a supervisor.
The sound supervisor
is a sound supervisor. He's a supervising sound editor.
What that role is.
That means pretty much he's overseeing everything that goes on with this film sound. He is, like he's mentioned to us, that jack of all trades. He pretty much makes sure that everything runs really smoothly. He works on the film for its sound design, makes sure that people are happy with it. Make sure that everybody gets the team together. He gets that team together to design the sound.
Yeah, he described it as like putting a band together.
It is putting a band together for sure, because you can pick anybody. It's not like Skywalker Sound really has a set people they work with. They do have like set people that work there.
Sure.
But these sound editors, these supervisors can get anybody in for a project, building that band, building that team to get the best sound out of there. Like Brandon Proctor has worked on Skywalker Sound movies before. We've heard of this. He's worked with Max Smith before. We mentioned that. We talked about that with him. But I don't believe Brandon Proctor is a part of Skywalker Sound itself. He's just
he's listed mixer. On there.
But he's listed on there because he's worked on projects before. Okay. So Skywalker Sound is just pretty much a company that does sound. And the editors and the supervisors can get that team, that group together
under that umbrella
of Skywalker Sound.
Sound like putting together another team of Avengers.
Exactly. It is very much like that, because without sound, movies are different for sure.
Some of the other projects that he's worked on is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes,
great movie.
Tron Legacy,
phenomenal.
Great movie.
Up,
great movie.
Well, even crazier about Up is he showed us the studio where Up was mixed. Up, Jurassic Park,
Titanic,
other
Pixar
pretty much
movies.
Every Pixar movie. I mean, we were in the booth or in the studio, in the stage where those movies were
designed.
The sound was designed for those. Some of the biggest movies in cinema history.
He did the What If series. He did Star Wars Visions. He worked on those a little bit. I don't think on all of them, but just
probably not
all projects. Moon Knight,
great show.
And then the recent Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah,
this guy has
done
some amazing things. And he was such. It's so funny. I felt like I was listening to you guys have a conversation with yourselves, because you're both sort of extremely personable, but also kind of quiet, introverted types people.
Right.
And it took a little warming up before we all sort of got the conversation going. But when the two of you started really talking about sound as a dad, it was just like, I'm just like standing back, like, just like watching him, just in awe of all of
It was
this.
really cool.
What was it like for you to have a conversation with a sound designer like that?
It's not something that as a aspiring person that wants to work in film sound, it's not something that you ever expect you can do, not talk with these people. And I have had the amazing privilege to talk to Brandon Proctor and interact with him some.
Larry Benjamin.
I mean, I have had amazing opportunities, but talking with Max Smith, somebody currently in this industry, at his place of work, being able to interact with him and talk about him.
Well, in such a prestigious place of work, too.
Exactly. And talk about him, about how to be in that industry, what it's like to be in that industry, not through a podcast setting, not through a phone call or a text or something like that, just being there, but face to face,
sitting
really
outside
about
at the cafeteria, eating a Wagyu burger.
Amazing burger.
At Skywalker
Ranch. At Skywalker Ranch.
It was truly, like, it was just something that you never think of. And walking through that tech building, beautiful building.
It was really cool.
An amazing place to work. And really strange,
It
too.
was really cool to hear him describe that it was built to be a lived-in universe, right?
Yeah.
It was built by George Lucas, designed by George Lucas, to where it looks like there was a
bunch of buildings cobbled
of buildings cobbled together and stuff, and it was just designed that way.
And then there's
like Star Wars,
exactly.
Was the universe of Star Wars was designed that.
And then there's another room that's like a really old-timey grandma house.
It looks like
it is such a crazy tone
And the reason
shift.
they built it that way was like as a retreat to get away from the studio stuff into something that feels more like
warm and homey, because you need that every now and then. It was just insane.
What was the best advice? What was the advice that he gave you for being involved in the sound business?
I mean, he talked about networking, but he also we talked a lot about you basically have to be a good person. You have to be somebody that people want to be around and interact with, because you're going to be stuck in a studio for really long hours working with people. And if you don't like them, then it's not going to go well, and you'll be there for longer and you won't get a product that you're really happy about.
Well, you got some work to do.
I know. But we saw this, like when we went into the sound stage, I think it was stage A, there was a client sleeping in the break room in the soundstage. That shows hours are long. Like you're just there for a while, and it is taxing. So if you are having all of that, your creative work is being kind of dissected by a microscope, along with working with a bunch of people you don't really know for long hours in a completely dark room, you are pretty much going to be really struggling to get a product you really want if you don't like the person that you're working with. So he was just saying that you have to pretty much be somebody you want to work with.
That's a rule of thumb for everything, though.
Very true.
It's so fun. We've had the opportunity to have amazing conversations with amazing people, and it seems like the more successful the people are, the better people they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so sometimes success is not built on just talent and skill.
It's still there.
It is, absolutely. Max Smith is one of the.
He's so talented.
talented.
Yeah, you have to be able to do
all of these people are talented. But what separates them is not just talent. It's about just being a good person and wanting to be somebody that want to be around, which is going to apply in sound. It's going to apply in business. It's going to apply in what you're doing as well. So then we left there.
Yeah.
And then it was the whole reason we came to Lucasfilm in San Francisco in the first place. We got to go to the
Fisherman's Pier. Oh, yeah.
The Fisherman's Wharf. That was fun.
That was interesting.
We got to go to go over to Lucasfilm, get the experience there, all the Yoda fountain stuff, and then go into the theater and see that. What was that like for you to be sitting in that theater? We'd been in the theater before.
Well, we walked in it during the tour, yeah.
In 2018. What was it like for you to see Andor and Rogue One in that?
It was a really surreal experience sitting there, when the show was starting, and then the Lucasfilm credits came up, and I'm like, we're in Lucasfilm.
You leaned over and said this. Yeah,
I was like, that was such a weird, surreal moment to be in the place where this was like happened, you know. That was a really, really cool moment. And then, you know, to add that on top of you're surrounded with a bunch of Star Wars fans. I mean, this is the first event we've been at for a while.
Since
that's been
Anaheim.
Since Anaheim. So that's what, 4 years now?
Yeah.
Been a minute.
The first event we've been at where it's just Star Wars fans, just strictly Star Wars fans all around us, and that was really like, it was nice. It was like, this is familiar.
We found our people,
right? You know,
we got the true Star Wars experience by waiting in the line.
We did have to wait in the line first.
So like,
that's true.
You can't have a Star Wars experience without that. So.
Well, and it was cool because most of the other people there were from different costuming groups like 501st, Rebel Legion, things like that. So that was cool that we were like in the minority being, you know, content creators like that. Yeah. But it also, every time I see those, like cosplay groups, I'm like, dang,
ready to start.
I'm ready. I want to make that Mondo.
You got a house,
Mando.
you got 2 3D printers.
Yeah, I got the space for it. It's just, do I have the time and motivation? Well, I've got the time. I just don't have the motivation. But it's kind of making me think, maybe I could get back into it. But it was really cool to be sitting in the theater, credits rolling. You see Lucasfilm, everybody's clapping for the big moments and laughing, and then there were a good number of people there who hadn't seen the final episode of Andor. They waited, and you could tell who they were because they were reacting at all the big moments,
especially that end.
Woo. Yeah, so it was good.
So thoughts on Andor now that it's wrapped up?
Loved it. I mean, it's hard to say, but live action wise, is probably the best Star Wars show we've got.
Oh yeah,
truly just. It felt so cinematic, and it pushed boundaries of what's acceptable in Star Wars a lot. I know that some people had issues with that, but
specifically the Gorman Massacre.
Yeah, the Gorman Massacre was heavy.
Yeah,
but I truly believe that the show itself wasn't something I'd recommend for the younger ages.
I agree.
Age groups of Star Wars fans, which is fine. It's okay to have something for everybody because right now we have Young Jedi Adventures about to start their next season on Disney Junior.
Skeleton Crew.
You have Skeleton Crew,
which is such a great
everything. Yeah. Star Wars has now grown into we need to have something for everybody to enjoy instead of one.
It's a 50-year-old property. It's not just movies that come out every 3 to 5 years.
It's about getting to the time where comics started to figure out, we can't just be one thing. We have to be more. When DC started to do their crazy Dark Knight Returns Killing Joke, was when Marvel started to do their crazy stuff and then went bankrupt and somehow came back to life. It's that era of Star Wars. And let's just be honest, Marvel and DC are better for that era, for that change. And I think that Star Wars...
There were growing pains with it.
It's always going to happen. And one of those growing pains, I believe, was Acolyte. I think they just didn't really know what they wanted to be. Didn't know what age group, kind of what they wanted to fit in.
What the demographic was.
When you're following Sith, you have to understand that if you're following the Sith, you got to go all the way with the dark, because it's the dark side. And you have to be all right with that. And it never felt like Acolyte fully committed to that bit, which is fine. There are going to be those growing pains. And there were times when they did commit, and it was amazing. So seeing Andor fully commit to the more mature, the more grounded, adult side to an extent of Star Wars truly lended itself to being an amazing show, an amazing property.
Do you think that, this change in Star Wars where there's always going to be the things for families, younger audiences, things like that, that's good, but then maybe more content being produced for not necessarily adult content, like TVMA or anything, but this more grounded, gritty, darker stuff. Does that go against George Lucas's original what he said Star Wars was? He said Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. Does that, I think it does go against it, but is it almost like a necessary thing? The 12-year-olds of 1977, 1980s are very different from the 12-year-olds of today, for better or for worse. That's a different topic, but it's changing with the times.
That the reality is this is a 50-year-old franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And for this franchise to survive outside of a cinematic universe, right? If Star Wars was just, we've got the original trilogy, and then about 15 years later, we've got the prequel trilogy. And then a decade after that, we've got the sequel trilogy, and then they wait another decade and they make another trilogy of movies. You can make those movies and keep them centered in the Star Wars is for 12-year-olds universe or approach. But the reality is we've moved past that with these Disney Plus shows, with additional types of movies that are getting made, those types of things. And so you have to have different genres and different audiences for it. And that's going to be the future of Star Wars, is going to require you to have, like you were describing a minute ago, Nate, young Jedi adventures for your youngest kids, and Andor for a really gritty, darker story, and then Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka and all these other things. They're all different. They all exist in the same universe, but the perspectives are going to be different in the way that the stories are told with it. And it's going to be an interesting thing to see how it plays out.
I think the biggest problem that's going to happen going forward is the audience that Andor was made for is the audience that's most vocal on social media. Kids aren't going to be going out and talking about these things on socials, right? So the online consensus going forward is, if anything is not like Andor, it's bad. Or, because the groups that are highly in praise of Andor are going to want more Andor, which is good. I want more Andor as well. It was great. But they're not. I don't think the majority of people are going to have our mindset of, you got to let things exist in their own way. They've got to fit their genre, fit their niche. Not everything can be Andor, and that's a good thing. I don't think many people are going to have that. So I worry that the online, not backlash, but the online,
it just becomes this
sentiment becomes, hey, this is an Andor. Yeah. Why can't we get more Andor? And then, studios will feel forced to end up making more Andor, and then all that stuff that is for the younger audiences just ends up getting swept away, and then
the future of Star Wars ceases to exist, because
you have to bring in new people.
Able to bring in another generation to do this.
I don't think that online consensus matters. Yes, you do not have the younger generation. People like kids like watching Young Jedi Adventures are going to go on Twitter and say, this is the greatest show we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not going to see that, but you're going to see ratings. Ratings matter a ton. We've seen ratings with Clone Wars, which is for
it aged. It aged
with the audience.
Same thing with Rebels.
You see with Rebels, yes. Young Jedi Adventures is probably not going to age, but the kids that are watching it are going to be watching it. We know this. When a kid finds a show he likes or she likes, they're going to wear out the tape if that's the thing.
But I think what
Sam
is describing, what he's saying aren't aware of the Young Jedi Adventures because you don't have this.
People don't need to be aware. People that watch Andor that don't have kids don't need to be aware of it, because they're not going to go and watch Young Jedi Adventures for no reason. But the people that do need to watch it, the kids, they're going to see the ratings. We have these fans. We have this avenue. Visions. There's a good amount of Vision stuff that kids can watch.
Yeah, but it's pretty dark, too.
There are some dark episodes, yes.
But here's the point that I think Sam's trying to make, Nathan. If people are unaware of Young Jedi Adventures because it's not being a part of the discussion on social media and people are not aware that this series exists, then parents aren't going to be introducing it to their kids. Kids aren't going to find Young Jedi Adventures just by finding Young Jedi Adventures.
I found shows as a kid just by finding shows as a kid. I can firmly say that. I found Gravity Falls just because I was scrolling on Disney XD and it was up one day and I watched it. I'm like, I love this show, and I continued to watch it. That's kind of how people discover, like when you're scrolling on cable television, that's kind of how it goes. And now you have streaming coming up. Kids will just be scrolling that kids channel and they may want like Star Wars and they'll see Star Wars, Young Jedi Adventures, I'll watch that. And then they put on the 2 seasons that are already out, with season 3 on the way. I saw the trailer for it the other day, which is, again, something was made aware to me just by scrolling on Instagram.
Yeah.
Saw Young Jedi Adventures trailer. It happens. People are going to know about it. The people that need to know about it are going to know about it. I don't think that there's ever going to be an avenue where Star Wars is still not meant for the family.
I think that the solution going forward, I think you're both right. I think that there's there's a caution that needs to be in place with, like you're describing, Sam. And I think that good content will find an audience. That's what you're saying, Nate. I do believe that the solution for the future of Star Wars is, as much as possible, to keep your film universe, your cinematic universe, geared towards the George Lucas Star Wars is for 12-year-olds audience. And then expand that universe through, like they have with comics, like they have with books, like they're doing with Disney Plus shows, expand that universe to different audiences and different genres.
Yeah, of course.
And let that be the playground of play.
We saw it with, you could even bring Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor into this. They're pretty dark moments in those games. They're relatively dark themselves, and those came out years ago. Fallen Order came out a while ago. And when I played that, it was relatively dark. It's not something that a kid's going to play. Heck, they may. A 12-year-old probably is going to play Fallen Order, because why not? It's Star Wars. So I think we're more focusing on Star Wars isn't for kids anymore, but Star Wars is for the family. You have the aspects for the kids. You have the things that are good for the kids. You have things that are good for the teens. You have things that are good for the parents to watch and the teens to watch, but their kid might not be able to watch it. Something like that. Like Andor is a great example of that. And
don't get your 7-year-old to watch it.
Who knows? It is up to you if you want your 8-year-old to watch it, because a dad brought his 8-year-old to the screening for Andor and Rogue One, which we were like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But okay, it's their choice.
Yeah.
If the kid somehow was able to sit through the 30 minutes of exposition every episode and enjoyed it,
I get it.
More power to him. I mean, I watched The Matrix when I was like 12.
That's my fault.
Yeah,
it's not a problem. It's a great movie.
Cool. Yeah. They have cool fights in that movie,
and nowadays that'd be PG-13 at this point. So things have changed. People have changed. It's for families now. Don't think it's for kids.
Sam, did the way you view Rogue One change as a result of Andor?
Yeah, the main character is Andor now.
I was like, Jin, get out of the way. I want to see Andor.
Jin's a good character.
I do love Jin's character. Yeah.
But you definitely have a different perspective going into it.
And even apparently Disney Plus does too. Their new thumbnail has
Andor front and center, which was a little bit controversial with it. But if you've seen these movies, you know Jin is the primary character with it. If you're somehow you were under a rock and never saw Rogue One but watched Andor, it makes sense because you see that thumbnail and you're going to want to watch Rogue One, which is great. And you're going to be like, why is Andor a side character? A great movie.
Exactly. You're going to be like me with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
or had to bring
Boba
that
Fett
up,
in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny.
Anything else?
All right. So we have some fun IMAX stuff coming up.
Nice.
I think we're going to go see Mission Impossible Final Reckoning in one of the few last true sizes of IMAX. It's not the biggest in the U.S. The biggest in the U.S. is Lincoln Square, which actually is about half of the size of the Statue of Liberty.
Good. Great.
We're going to one that's about the third of the size of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, wait, where's Lincoln Square?
It's in New York.
We're going to New York. So.
Yeah, exactly. For Superman, let's just take a trip to New York and go see it up there. But we're going to see that. And also another cool IMAX news. I'm a fan of IMAX, if you couldn't tell.
Because you're a Nolan fan?
Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is going to be the first movie in history to be filmed fully in IMAX 70 millimeters.
That's crazy.
With new IMAX camera technology. They're able to do that because they have a new IMAX camera that's not 150 pounds. It's more like 90 to 100 pounds. So it's less weight so they can use it more often. It's going to be big, but cannot wait.
Awesome, Sam.
Yeah, I thought this was cool, but I don't know what caused it, but just randomly Battlefront 2 had a huge resurgence of players again. I think it reached half of its all-time highest player count on Steam.
It's been years.
And it's been 4 years since its last major update.
People love a good game.
And people just out of the blue. Maybe it was because of the new Fortnite season. People are like, hey, this is kind of like Battlefront 1. I mean, people did think. I even thought about getting back into it. I don't have my old account anymore, so I'd be starting from square one. But it's cool to see that.
Probably a stronger gamer than you were then.
No, definitely not. Because I don't play as much. My skills aren't sharp. But I hope that this encourages Disney to start working on a third one.
Come on,
it would do well.
Yeah. Speaking about resurgence, Revenge of the Sith Was it didn't it just the final number was like the second highest grossing re-release of all time?
Behind what?
I can't
don't know.
remember.
Avatar, probably.
Yeah, probably. It could be. Because it earns over $42 million worldwide with its 20th anniversary re-release.
That's wild.
Which is awesome.
It was great.
Which was also a lesson. If anybody at Lucasfilm is listening to this, you know who you are. Star Wars belongs in the cinema.
Yes.
Yep.
We need
and
Star
I think
Wars
that was shown also with that
cinemas.
screening that we went to.
Oh, absolutely.
It felt better. Even seeing Andor in a theater was just...
Don't let what happened with Solo scare you. There's bigger reasons why Solo happened.
Also make Solo 2 happen.
and make Solo 2 happen with that. Yeah, well, we want to hear from you guys too. So let us know what you think about Andor, about the future of Star Wars, any of the topics that we discussed.
Superman.
Love
to talk to you about Superman.
Find us. You can find us on all of our social media. It's really easy. It's Tatooine Sons. So
SONS. Not
tattooing like getting a tattoo. It's Tatooine is in the planet, and not Sons is in SUNS, but SONS. If you look us up,
if you're listening to podcasts, just look at the title.
Yeah, that'll make sense.
That too. That does help.
Check it out. We've already got the future of the podcast. These knuckleheads. One of the reasons we haven't been able to record is because they're so busy. So what we have made the decision to do is move their conversations to a monthly cadence. So they may jump in for other things at times, but the consistent release for this type of an episode that you just heard, which you're used to with Tatooine Sons, that will be coming out once a month. In the interim, we are still going to be a weekly release. I'm going to be interviewing different people that are in the Star Wars world about getting exposed to Star Wars, watching it with their dads. I think that's a great story. I like to hear every time I hear it. It's similar, but also so unique and different. For example, we've got Spencer Javits. I was mentioning him earlier. He's the founder of Virtual Cantina Network. He has a hilarious story about going to see Empire Strikes Back when he was 4 years old and seeing Chewbacca welding the Millennium Falcon. It's hilarious. You've got to hear that. But he was there with his dad, and that's why that movie is not only his favorite Star Wars movie, but his favorite movie of all time. Meanwhile, we've got in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have Cam Ray on here. If you know Cam from Cam Ray Semi Productions, he's absolutely crazy. He's hilarious, but he's going to talk about being in the Star Wars fandom and also watching Star Wars with his kids. And that's the kind of content that you're going to be hearing from us going forward. And then a couple of weeks ago, last week I was on with the guys over at Around the Galaxy and the Streaming Star Wars Network on their Andor recap show. We're going to be on other podcasts going forward. I'm going to be doing that. We'll repurpose those and put those in the feed as well. So you're going to be getting weekly release content, and it's going to be varied, and you're going to have lots of different types of things to hear from us. And so we're excited about that. I can't think of anything else. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
Thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons, a Star Wars podcast. Please subscribe and follow Tatooine Sons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. Tatooine Sons regularly publishes thoughtful articles intended to provoke conversation about the larger themes in Star Wars. Go to TatooineSons.com to explore further, and may the Force be with you. Always.
This podcast, website, and social media accounts are not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited, and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Star Wars, all names and sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items and properties are trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited and its affiliates. All original content of this podcast and website is the intellectual property of Tatooine Sons, unless otherwise indicated.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.